Hello, this is George Demaree, and thank you for being here for another episode of Your Money Matters. I just love sharing this information, money-making information that will make you a lot more financially literate, information that will help you with thinking strategic about your money. Also, always looking for employment and education opportunities. We'll always say every week, now remember our goal is to have a credit number, a credit rating of at least 700. And finally, coming up with ways of getting out of debt. Today, we're going to spend some time with retirement. A large percentage of our members and friends at St. Stephen Baptist Church are 40 plus, but I don't think any time is too early to get ready to make decisions on retirement. One thing I know, time flies. It just goes by pretty quickly. And the things that you do today or let me say it like this, what happens today is a reflection of what you did 3 months ago. So what's going on with your life today is many times a direct reflection of what you did a month, 2 months, 3 months, or years ago. So what we do now, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or already in retirement, will be a reflection of what your future looks like. So anyway, before we get to that, I'm going to give you some principles, what I call the 6 principles of personal finance. Now, there are so many people that I get information from. Tons. Today, I'm getting information from a guy by the name of Godfrey Smith, who is a CPA and has a ton of great information online. I've gotten information from Dave Ramsey, from tons of people in the financial industry. Many of them, I don't take everything they say. I take things that I think are really good based on our audience, and I like to share those ideas accompanied with the experiences that I've had over my last 64 years of being on God's earth. So principle number 1, and if I've done 30 shows, I've probably said this in 20 of those shows. Budgeting. Always budgeting. Again, if you have a company, you probably have a line item budget. You don't know where your money's going if you do not budget. Focus on when you're spending and when you want to save money or you want to put money away, or you want to do a better job of spending. Focus on big ticket items. Yes, I mean, to drink coffee at home rather than to go to Starbucks, yeah, that'll save you money. But what really saves you money is when you make great decisions on big ticket items. An example, I know a lot of car dealers don't want to hear this, but buying a brand new car is never a good, in my opinion, financial decision. Now, I'm not saying that if you got the money to do it, you've saved money, you have money that you can give back to your children once you leave here, that you have all your personal needs taken care of, have a good time. If you want to buy a brand new car, buy a brand new car. But still, even if you do have the resources, make good decisions with your money. Brand new cars now, on an average, are about $40,000 a car. The average cost of a pre-owned car now is almost as $25,000 to $30,000 a car. So does it make sense to pay $10,000 more for a car because it's new if you could wait a year and get the same car and save money? Number 2, saving. As far as financial principles, you've got to save. You got to save. if you're going to pay the federal government, pay yourself second. You got to save. And don't try to do it all at once. Remember that just save a little at a time. Money grows because of compound interest exponentially. And over time, if you keep saving and you don't take it out, you can make some money. For an example, if you save, at age 20, if you save $200 a month, and you do that every month, and you put it in a growth mutual fund, over 30 years, you'll have well over $1 million. Well over $1 million because of compound interest. And over that time, you would only have put in about $330,000 of your own money. All that other $700,000 would be interest on interest that you've earned. That's how money grows. Number 3, as far as principles, debt. Some people say there's good debt, and some people say there's bad debt. All right, I say no debt is good. That's me personally. But any interest rate that you're paying over 5%, you need to liquidate that as quick as you can. Never, and I'll say these days, because interest rates are at a historic low, I'm thinking anything over 3%, you just need to liquidate quickly. Now, mortgage, so low, usually has lower interest rates. If you have a 720 credit rating, you can probably buy a car at a 3% interest rate. That's why it's important to have a credit number that's at least 700 and try to get to 720, but at least 700. And then there is bad debt. Credit card debt is bad debt unless you can pay it off every month, every cycle. If you're not paying interest and it's helping you to build your credit rating, that's not bad. You can use a good credit card or two if you're paying it off every month, and it will help you. If you pay your bills on time, right? If you don't use all the credit utilization, those are things that will help you to generate a 700 credit rating. Next, taxes. Understand taxes. Understand how the tax system works. Understand what tax bracket you're in. Understand on things that you can do for tax deductions. How is it that Jeff Bezos, who has $1 billion company, how is it that he did not pay any federal income tax last year? How is that? Because he has good enough people to help him to understand the tax laws, where he's had enough deductions where he literally paid little or no federal income tax. To me, that's not right, but that's a fact. That's why you need to understand how the game is played. You've got to. Remember again, when you pay taxes on your income that you get every week or whenever you get paid, remember they're based on a projection. They're based on a projection. When you get your tax return at the end of the year, they didn't give you a gift. They just gave you money back because they overcharged you. Next is insurance. Got to have it, understand it. But don't pay for insurance for things that you can pay. I get a phone call at least 3 times a week on people trying to sell me some insurance for the service insurance for my automobile. Do not pay a service insurance if you have the cash to pay it up front. Homeowners insurance, I'm on the fence on that. If it's going to be $50 a month, then create an emergency fund. Every financial planner, I don't care. Let me share this with you, family and friends. I do a ton of research when it comes to money and financial principles and what you need to do. And I've watched 10, 20, 30, 50 different people on their ideas, and most people have pretty close to the same ideas. But this is one of the principles, like budgeting, that everybody says you've got to have an emergency fund. Everybody says it. You got to have an emergency fund. And this is what they'll say. I don't care who it is, whether it's Dave Ramsey or Godfrey Smith, doesn't matter. This is what they'll say. Well, you need at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses as an emergency fund. Well, that's easier said than done. But if you're putting away $50 a pay period, $50 a pay period, you can get it up to where you have an emergency fund. So if something happens to your car, something happens to your refrigerator, whatever happens to your home, you can pay cash and not get in debt. Emergency funds are very important. Finally, prepare for retirement. We're going to talk a little bit about retirement. Prepare for retirement. Prepare for, it just seems I'll be 65 this year. Seemed like it was just a day or so, I was 35. Time flies. Prepare. That's why you put money away. That's why you make good decisions about what your tomorrow will be a reflection of what you do today. We talked about that earlier. Now, again, let's talk about a little bit about insurances. Okay, excuse me, about retirement. Sorry. Talk a little bit about retirement. And today I want to start out with mistakes that people make. Mistakes that hurt you financially when you're about to retire or you're in retirement. Mistake number 1. Poor timing when it comes to your Social Security benefits. Now, we're going to spend some more time on Social Security today. But poor timing. When do you take Social Security? Well, at age 56, you could not have convinced me that I was not going to take my Social Security at age 62. That's until I discovered what happens if you take your benefit early. Now don't get me wrong. There's you got life expectancy too that plays a factor. But let me tell you what happens if you take it. Let's suppose that your full retirement benefit is around $2,000. Let's suppose. You only get 75% of that money if you take it at age 62. It's 75% and it goes up every year. Actually goes up a little bit every month. Every month. So, but if you take it before you get the full retirement age, they use the acronym FRA, you can only make $18,960 without it being in earned income, without it being a penalty. Well, what's that look like? Why wouldn't you do that? If you're still going to work, if you make $40,000 a year, let's suppose you're at that you're going to make $2,000 a month in Social Security, but you made 40, so let's look at the math. You need to take your 18,960 away from the 40. That leaves you about $21,000. Now you've made almost $21,000 more than the allotted amount. They take $1 for every $2 you make over $18,960. that means you would lose $10,000 of your Social Security benefit. Now, do the math. Does it work? Well, if you're going to make 40, right? But you're going to lose 10 because you'd have made 24. That's still 14. It could bring your income up to 54 if you decided to take it early. But let's suppose that you were making 60, 65. If you were making $65,000 a year, now hear me on this, and remember you can only make $18,960. Well, the money that you made, they would take that completely off. You wouldn't make a benefit at all. So that's the reason that you really got to look in timing in taking your Social Security benefit. Now, here's a positive in taking it early. If you do not need to work, if you're not going to have any other earned income, if it doesn't account your retirement money, it doesn't account any annuities, any IRAs, that doesn't go against the number. If you're going to live off an IRA and Social Security, take it early. Why not take it early? But if you still want to work and you're going to make money, my suggestion is you got to do the math on that, because it may not make financial sense or at all for you to take Social Security early. So one of the mistakes that people make is they take Social Security to poor timing. The next one is what he calls the Scrooge Syndrome. Wow. If you're retired and you have the money, live a good life. Take vacations. Take care of yourself. Live a good life. Don't sit on money, because I'm telling you, folks, when you leave this earth, there ain't going to be a Brinks truck behind you. If you have the money and you're retired and you want to buy a brand new car and got the money, do it. If you got it all taken care of, you're in your whatever that age may be, in your late 60s, 70s, who knows? And remember this, a person at 65 and a person at 85 are two different people. We all know that, right? And the life expectancy of men anyway is only about 78, and for black men is only about, depending on where you live, 73, 74. So if you got the resources and you got the money, enjoy yourself. Take care of your family, give back, but enjoy yourself. Number three, don't think you're the best trader in the market. Now, you can make some good decisions on buying stock that makes sense. Don't get me wrong. The stock market has averaged a 10% increase since its inception in the mid 1920s. And it's had some dips, but over time, if you stick with it, the stock market's averaged about 10%, over the years. But get some help when it comes to investing. There are certain stocks, there are certain value stocks that just make sense. You got companies like Coca-Cola and Ford and GM and even an Apple, companies like that are pretty solid, that are not going anywhere. Before you decide to buy any growth stocks, make sure that you get some help. Growth stocks are usually stocks from a little younger companies, but the opportunity for growth is really high. Next, as we said earlier, understand the tax code. When you are taking money from an IRA, you will need to pay taxes on that money. They're basically a couple. You have a traditional IRA that's usually tax deferred, and then when you take it out, you have to pay taxes. And then there's a Roth. And a Roth is you pay taxes before it goes in. I personally like a Roth. I'm not going to get any detail in it, but the things that I like about a Roth is that you pay the taxes on it up front, and then all the growth that comes within in a Roth is not taxable income. Don't take advice from friends unless your friends know what the heck they're doing. If a person comes to you and says, man, I got the greatest idea and we can get this done, and man, give me some money, let's invest in this. No, you make sure you do some due diligence before you follow somebody and putting your money someplace. People have lost money in Ponzi schemes because they thought they could get rich quick and lost every dime they had. Don't do that, whatever you do. Learn how to manage your money. You know, how to handle your expenses. Little things that you can do. I mean, me personally, I haven't had cable TV in 5 years. I just don't. It's just a personal preference. I decided that I would much prefer to stream and get everything I need and me control what I watch on TV rather than a cable company. Don't spend too much. Watch your spending. Be mindful of your spending, right? Next, it is very, very important that you and your spouse are on the same page. If you want to invest in one way and she wants to invest in another way, it will not work. You're fighting against each other. Make sure that you find some common ground to know that you both have a common interest and work together when it comes to your money. It's always better to have two ideas than one, but then follow that idea and go with it. And finally, as it relates to mistakes people made during retirement, and this is a tough one, do not be stuck in taking care of your capable children. That's not to say don't take care of your children. That's not what I said. But adult children have done a good job of sucking up a big percentage of folks' retirement income. If they're able-bodied, they don't have any medical issues or some issues that we can't even talk about, make sure they work. You got there because you worked. The chances of you living because somebody left you tons of money is slim based on who we are. So making your children work and work hard is not only good for you as a parent and a retiree, it's also good for them. So they can teach their children some of the same principles. All right? Now, let's talk a little bit more about Social Security. I got a few minutes, and we'll finish on Social Security next week. But people don't really understand how it works. And we've talked about this maybe about 6 months ago. So I thought it would be important for me to revisit what it looks like. These are some of the false facts as it relates to Social Security. That some people believe that everybody gets the same amount of money. No, they don't. Your Social Security is based on what you put in it. Remember what it takes to be eligible to even receive Social Security. It takes what they call 40 credits. And 40 credits is no different than 40 quarters that you've worked. So that's 10 years. If you work for 10 years, you get 4 credits per year. You worked. In order for credit to be counted, you'd have to make right at $1,447 a quarter for that to be counted, which means if you make about $5,800 a year, you can still get 4 credits. But now remember this, your benefit is based on how much money you made. For the most part. There are some variables, but for the most part. So what they do is they take your 35 best years. Your Social Security benefit is based on 35 years. If you only work 10 years, then those other 25 years, you would get zeros, and it would greatly affect what you would get from Social Security. It's just how it works. So an example, you got your first 35 years. They calculate the best earning years of those 35. So even if you decided to stop working at a certain age and you'd already worked 35 and you're not making as much, it will not hurt your benefit. Remember that. Number 2, the government, as far as false facts, the government has rated Social Security. The government has not. Social Security right now is funded up to the year 2032. Now they're going to have to make some changes over the next year in order for it to last past that year. But right now, Social Security is fully funded. And let me also share this with you. The COLA this year is going to be better than it's been for years. And that's COLA stands for Cost of Living Adjustment. So that cost of living adjustment is going to be over 5% this year. And it's been a decade since it's been over 5%. So for an example, if your Social Security benefit is $2,000 a month, going in 2022, it could be $2,100 because it's 5% increase over the $2,000. It's simple math as it relates to that. Another thing that's a myth is that undocumented immigrants get Social Security. They do not. They don't. As I said before, it takes 40 credits for you to be eligible. That's taxable earned income. The government's not giving you money. You pay into it every paycheck you pay. And if you're self-employed, you pay into it too. So it's not like they're giving you money. And it was never designed to completely pay your expenses. It was designed to help it. Number 4, full retirement age. Again, is some people think it's 65 now. Full retirement age these days, it depends on when you were born. For me, I was born in 1956. My full retirement age is 66 and 4 months. After, I think, 1960, I think full retirement age is at 67. So that's where it is, and again, it depends on when you were born. Number 5, can your ex-spouse collect? Yes, you can. If you were married to somebody for 10 years, that person that you were married to, whether male or female, never got married, and you're retired, that person is eligible for 50% of your Social Security benefit. Doesn't affect you, but it can affect him or her. For an example, if you're making $3,000 a month, 50% of that would be $1,500. If his or her Social Security benefit, because she didn't work as long as you did, was only $1,000 a month, then he or she is eligible for 50% of yours. All right, look that up. All right. Again, it takes 35 years to get the benefit, and finally, and next week we'll spend more time on this because the time went really quick today. Do you get taxed on your Social Security benefit? It depends on how much money you make. If you're married and you make $32,000 a year or under, you pay no taxes on your Social Security benefit. The more money you make, the higher percentage you pay. We'll go over more details in that next week. Well, I hope this has been informative. I want all of our friends, all of our members, all of our families to get a understanding, a better understanding of how to handle the money. You know, a few weeks ago, we talked to folks that were 15 to 25. This week, I'm talking to folks who are 55 plus, or even folks just preparing to what it looks like to retire. Let me say this in closing. Even if you're in your 20s, it's never too early to start saving money. Because if you start saving money now, remember, $200 a month in 30 years can turn into over $1 million if you save it and save it consistently. So when you get to 65, you can look at that employer and say, you know what? It's been fun, but I gotta run. Well, thank you for being a viewer again for Your Money Matters. We appreciate you. And as always, at St. Stephen Baptist Church, God loves you, and so do we.